and your team. Oops. Once again, good morning, Fallon and your team. Thank you so much for having this session for our dealers, contractors. Good morning, everyone. My name is Paulo. I am technical support for our residential, light commercial, and commercial Panasonic systems. Today, we'll be talking more on the residential side. Thank you, one and all, for taking your precious time to join in this and to listen to my training. This training this morning will have two segments or two sessions. The first we'll talk about single zone, and the second we'll talk about multi-zones. If time allows, I'll throw in a little bit of controls. Otherwise, keep your questions at the end so that we can have a general conversation for each and every one of us, okay? So definitely you might have some questions. You will have some questions. Feel free to ask us all at the end of our session. All right. So hope everybody is doing well, staying safe, staying healthy. We have had an amazing year so far, and we continue to progress. Our residential products, as I mentioned earlier, we have multi-zones and then we have single zones. So right now we'll talk about single zones, okay, guys? The nomenclature that I will speak about right now will be both single and multi. But then as we progress, we'll talk about single zones, okay? So our indoor models, all our indoor models starts with CS. The reason I'm stressing is because whenever you have a problem, we need you to give us the model number. We need you to give us the model number of the indoor unit, sometimes the outdoor unit, sometimes both, and sometimes with serial number. So all our indoor unit, guys, starts with CS. Then the outdoor unit starts with CU. And then we have the XE, 9, 12, 15, 18, and 24. These numbers represents the BTUs, 9,000 BTUs, 12,000 BTUs, 15, and 24,000 BTU. WKUA series, when they were released, they were single zones only, strictly single zones. But now it has been legally approved to connect with 3 zones as we speak. Who knows, maybe down the road they will approve the 4 zones, the 5 zones, and the 2 zones. But for now, you can only install these WKUAs on our 3-zone multi-system, okay? And obviously, the existing multi-zone systems, we have the 2-zone, 18,000 BTU, 3 zones, 19,000 BTU, 4-zone, 24,000 BTU, and 5-zone, 36,000 BTU, okay? The indoor models, we have all the way from 5, 7, 9, up to 24. And the 5 and the 7, the model number starts with CSME 5 and CSME 7. These multi-zone in outdoor units that we will talk about in our next segment, it has the existing indoor units that you can still use that ends with the RKUA. The difference between the RKUA and the WKUA, I will explain to you in the next few slides, okay? So this catalog is now available with WEA, Wallace Ernest Associates. If you need for your projects, if you need to find out the capacity minimum and maximum, you can always check with WEA. They will provide you with this page related to the new 19,000 with the WKUA combination series, okay? So our line of products involves just like any other competitor, wall mounted, ducted, cassette, and so forth. So if you want a wall mounted, you can install a wall mounted. If you want a ducted unit, you can have a ducted unit. And if you want a cassette, you can have a cassette unit as well. So as I mentioned, the new WKUA, the new WKUA series. That model has a built-in NanoX technology. NanoX technology, I will discuss with you in the next three slides. It's about cleaning the air, okay, killing bacteria, allergens, and you name it. It has also a built-in Wi-Fi. Unlike our older models, they do not have a built-in Wi-Fi. This model, WKUA, has a built-in Wi-Fi. It comes with a wireless remote controller, but if you need a wired remote control or remote controller, you can ask and you can get it. The RKUA, okay, the RKUA series, this one here down, unlike the WKUA, which I mentioned has a built-in Wi-Fi and a NanoX technology, this RKUA, our existing models, they have the EcoNavi sensor. What is the EcoNavi sensor? It's the sensor that picks on your movement. Based on how much you move in that room, in that space, it ramps up or down the compressor frequency. Easy error retriever. These units, they have all our models have very easy, like super easy error retriever codes. You can talk to the homeowner, you can ask them to retrieve the error code so that you are well prepared. As a contractor, myself, I would always prepare myself before I head out. If I have phone calls, I will check with them, what is the error code? Oh, I cannot do this. Explain to them, it's so simple. Please help me out. So at least you are one step ahead of the game. Auxiliary heater. What is this about? Auxiliary heater is when the heat pump cannot keep up, especially in very cold areas, up north. Very cold during winter time, it gets into double digits, super cold, and the heat pump cannot keep up. So what happens? If you have this auxiliary heater, you can bring that heater on by using our indoor unit. There is a spot where you plug in and you hook up your auxiliary heater. It could be a hot water coil, it could be a baseboard heater, a boiler, you name it, anything. So the NanoX technology that I was talking to you about earlier, the WKUA, okay, not the RKUA, the WKUA, okay, it's all about cleaner environment, all about freshness, okay, takes care of pollen, odors, mold, bacteria, and viruses. NanoX technology brings the natural cleaning properties of hydroxyl radicals to the indoor environment. Guys, please be very clear. Don't sell our units and say that they are good for COVID. No, it has not been approved, okay? It is approved to clean the environment. Super clean. Takes away all the smell, the odors, okay? So this is what this unit does. NanoX explanation, if you want to know about this explanation, it's a technology that collects invisible moisture in the air and applies high voltage. That high voltage comes from the NanoX generator, which is built into that unit. Keep in mind, guys, we used to have NanoX technology in our air purifiers way back when, okay? So they have transferred that technology with a little bit more advanced into our heat pumps, okay? What they have also done with this indoor unit, they have made it a bit slimmer. The top air intake, they have reduced it. But even though they have reduced it, it has the same energy efficiency. It has the same energy efficiency to exchange air through that coil, through that heat exchanger, through that evaporator to give you comfort cooling, comfort heating with the same energy efficiency. The louvers, okay, some people call swing flaps, some people call louvers, whatever you can call it, that's fine. It has two types of louvers. One is the vertical, up and down, and the other one is the horizontal, left to right, okay? So we have two motors there. one for the up and down and one for the left and right. So everybody gets confused, gets mixed up, gets complicated for no reason. Inverter technology is simply a microprocessor that controls the compressor. That compressor there is driven by three-phase voltage, okay? Three-phase AC voltage. That compressor there ramps up and down depending on the supply, of that voltage. When the three-phase voltage supplied to the compressor is high, the compressor is running at a higher frequency. When it is supplied with three-phase, a lower voltage like 48, 50 volts between U, V, W, the compressor is running at a lower frequency. And what tells the compressor, guys? What tells the compressor to run low and high? It's so simple. It's so simple. It's this load here. It's the load. Right now, the compressor, as you can see, it's running at a very low frequency. Why? Because the sensor has sensed the load, and the load is so little, only 2 guys, hardly generating any heat. Okay, so the compressor is going at a very slow speed. But guess what? The load has increased. Now the load has increased. The sensor has sensed it. The sensor at the indoor unit sends signal to the outer unit. Hey, I need more juice. I need more energy. I need more pumping. So that sensor sends a signal outside to the EEPROM. The EEPROM tells the compressor, guys, hey, ramp it up. I need more energy. And that's where you find the compressor going higher and higher. Okay? That's very simple and pretty much a very brief explanation about an inverter compressor. It's all about signals, okay, from the indoor unit to the outer unit. Then we have the electronic expansion valve. Okay, this component is very, very critical, very, very crucial. These, back in the day, we used to call them a capillary tube. Capillary tube was a fixed orifice. Okay, electronic expansion valve, it's not fixed anymore. It regulates, opens and closes depending on the load, that we spoke about earlier, 1 or 2 slides earlier. When there's less load, this electronic expansion valve will hardly open. When there is lots of load needed, this electronic expansion valve will open like crazy to the maximum. And then it will regulate up and down, up and down. So what is this electronic about? It's all about magnetism. It has magnet inside. It works on power, and depending on the pulses, okay? Depending on the pulses, it will ramp up and down. 8 pulses is required to complete 1 cycle. The full operating cycle is 480 pulses. We cannot see that on our laptop or anything like that. It's embedded in the EEPROM. Okay, but the same electronic expansion valve on the commercial side, where you can hook up your laptop and see, yes, you can see how it modulates, how it goes higher, how it goes lower, depending on the load, depending on the heat load. So this electronic expansion valve is so sensitive, okay, made out of copper, plastic, a little bit of metal, a little bit of aluminum. So you got to be very gentle with this, okay? You got to be super gentle, especially when you're replacing it. Why? Because this piece here, this rotor here that goes up and down, depending on the load, is made out of plastic, a super hard plastic. Now, can you imagine replacing this and brazing somewhere here without applying any cold damp cloth? That plastic is going to melt. You're going to finish your job. You're going to waste a lot of hours because you're doing your due practice, your due diligence. And the next thing, you have the same problem. The unit is going into pump down. Now you get mad at Tony. You get mad at me. You get mad with everyone. You told me to replace this, and I have the same problem. But you forgot to tell us that when you were replacing these, you didn't apply cold cloth. Maybe you applied, but it wasn't cold enough. So you're going to be super, super gentle, super, super careful, and use the correct size of torch, you know, the nozzle. You know, apply correct flame. Don't apply too much of flame when you're replacing this electronic expansion valve. Okay? Then we have the valve peel. Okay? The valve body, pipes, you see, the valve chamber, the stopper. So please keep that all in mind, guys. You see, right now, there is hardly call for any cooling. Right now, we are in cool mode. It's hot, it's slightly open. So you see the flow of refrigerant is very slow. That's when you have only 2 people in that room. You remember I showed you a slide with 2 guys? That's when you see this kind internally. You cannot see it. You cannot see it when you're outside because it's everything is covered. But basically, this is how it looks like when there is very little demand, when the heat load is not much. Okay, so now the load has increased. So when the load increases, the sensor tells the outdoor unit, EEPROM, I need more opening. That sensor sends signal to this electronic expansion valve to open more refrigerant. And that same signal that this electronic expansion valve receives, the compressor too receives at the same time. So there is no way, remember this, okay guys, there is no way that this electronic expansion valve is opening and the compressor is not moving. It's not changing its frequency. There is no way. They are in sync. The compressor and the electronic expansion are always in sync. When the compressor frequency drops, that's because the electronic expansion valve has gone slightly to closed position. And when it's fully closed, eventually the compressor goes off. So keep in mind, the sensors, the electronic expansion valve, the compressor, and the fan motor are all related, are all interconnected. So there will be so many things when you have a problem to look at. Is the electronic expansion valve defective? Is the compressor defective? Are the sensors defective? Or is the fan motor not moving well? Because imagine the sensor is asking for more refrigerant. The electronic expansion valve is not opening well. The compressor is not pumping up, or maybe it pumped up, and then the fan motor is hardly running. So where is the problem there? We got to break down the problem. So these components are all interrelated. So if you have less refrigerant in the system, you may have the same problem. You're calling for a lot of heat, or you're calling for a lot of cooling, but nothing is happening. So always check the refrigerant to begin with. Do you have enough of refrigerant? First, you need to check if you have enough of refrigerant. You know, it's like in our household, the kids are complaining they're hungry. Did you give them food? Is there food? You know, don't just say they're hungry when there is no food. Obviously, they're hungry because there's no food. In the system, there is no juice, there is no refrigerant. That's why there's not enough of cooling. Same concept. Then comes the outdoor PCB. The outdoor PCB is now one whole complete box. Before, we had separate circuits. This circuit was on its own, the IPM module, the AC rectifier was on its own, the noise filter, and then we had the control board. Now we have everything together. So there is a good thing, that's a good thing, because if anything goes bad, you change the whole PCB and waste no time. So your AC power comes in, your AC single phase comes in, goes into this rectifier circuit, converts it to DC volts. It gets into this IPM module, The IPM module is responsible for converting between from DC to AC. And this UVW is your three-phase driving that compressor. And that three-phase is AC, not DC. Many guys are calling me and asking me if it was DC or AC. Oh, why is it DC a compressor then? Yes, it is digitally controlled brushless compressor, but not AC, but not DC volts windings. The windings need AC volts, and to regulate the frequency, you need AC volts. You cannot regulate by using DC volts. So always remember, use your meter by measuring AC volts here, and it has to be balanced. It has to be balanced. If you're not getting balanced voltage, you will have a problem that I will explain to you in the next few slides. So when that board is defective, when that outdoor PCB is defective, you will get error codes like F99, F96, F93, or F90. But before you condemn, remember this, guys, before you condemn this PCB, please power reset for 15 to 20 minutes. I had a call over the Easter weekend, a gentleman from Ohio. He called me and he said, it's super cold today and I have this problem. I can't remember it was an F96 or an F93, but one of these error codes. And I told him, please shut the power off for 5-10 minutes. Sorry, for 10 to 15 minutes and try it. He said, I already did that. I said, you did it for how long? He said, I did it for around 3 to 5 minutes. I said, no, it's not enough. So always remember, when you get this kind of error codes, give it time. Give it time to cool down. Give it time to discharge all the capacitance. Okay? So after he reset the power, I checked with him and he said, yes, it's up and running, it's fine. So most of these error codes related to power PCB out at the outdoor unit, if you reset it for 15 minutes, it can come back to life, and it may work very well with no issues whatsoever. Now, if you remember, I mentioned about the RKUA, not the WKUA. Okay, the WKUA has a built-in Wi-Fi and a built-in NanoX technology. RKUA is our existing units. Okay, they have something called the human activity sensor, which is the Econavi sensor. It's something good to have if you really need, and if you are really a guy who thinks about saving. It consumes very little energy when you activate that function, when you activate that Econavi function, because the compressor is going to work based on activity in that space, in that room, in that office. If it sees a lot of activity, the compressor is going to ramp up. If it sees no activity, it's going to slow down. Depending on which mode, okay guys, depending on which mode, it will regulate 2 degrees higher or 2 degrees lower. That's your savings. So 2 degrees higher or 2 degrees lower is your setback. So please guys, especially those guys who are living in a very cold area, okay, in a very cold area, please remember, this is a heat pump. It works harder when it gets very cold outside. It works a little bit less harder when it's warm outside. So if you are going to bed and if you have this model, the best thing to set it is just 2 degrees. So please, when you're doing night setback, don't set back by 6-7 degrees. It's going to take long for you to come back to keep up with the room temperature. So 2 degrees is more than enough. That's your distance, 21 feet against 6 feet. 120 degrees, it's scanning all the time. The sensor is scanning all the time. It has it has something called the Fresnel lens. What it does, it picks up on body temperature. Okay, it picks up on body temperature. So if you have a punching bag in your room and you have this AC there and Econavi function, if that punching bag is going up and down on its own, it's not going to sense anything, because the punching bag doesn't have any body temperature. So please remember, they have designed it very carefully to check on human activity only. Okay. So what it does, the electronic controller, the comparator, it has the sensor there. It checks on you all the time. It's not a camera, guys. Okay, don't worry, it's not a camera. It just picks up on temperature. And as I mentioned, when you are absent, it goes 2 degrees higher or 2 degrees lower, depending on which mode you are in. Okay, if you're in cool mode, it will go 2 degrees higher. If you're in heat mode, it will go 2 degrees lower. Then when you show up again and activity kicks in, it can catch up quickly and give you the comfort you need right away, almost right away. Auto mode. So guys, always talk to your customer, always talk to your homeowner, the difference between auto mode and auto fan and auto louver. Okay, this is auto mode. Auto mode functions well. It functions very well in a single zone. On a multi-zone, you will always have complaints from your homeowner. It's not a good idea to use auto mode in multi-zones. But in single zone, it's a good idea. But again, as far as I'm concerned, with all my experience with this heat pump technology, I am not a big fan of auto mode, because auto mode will run in cooling or heating, and then once the room is hot and it goes above 5 degrees, it switches over. So all that heat that you pumped into that room is going to be taken away by dumping in cold air. So that's not a good idea. You know, that's not a good idea. It's not a good savings idea as far as I'm concerned. But where office application is concerned, auto mode is not a bad feature, because in the morning nobody's there, it's cold outside, it runs in heating, and then as time progresses, it gets very hot, it goes into cooling. So that's fine in office spaces, but at home I prefer to leave it in either cooling or heating. At this time of the year, where we have spring summer condition, I prefer using my window, fresh air. So it all depends. Okay guys, the mode is there, the feature is there, it's up to you and it's up to the homeowner. But this is my experience and this is my perspective. Okay guys, always explain to the homeowner, it's important they read the user manual. Okay, it's so important for this homeowner to read the manual and understand the difference between auto mode, auto louver and auto fan. Okay, they got to read that user manual. That's why it's called the user manual, guys. Okay, make sure they don't push the blame on you. You are good, you are supposed to read only the service manual because you are the service guy. Okay, you're the installer. So always insist them in reading that user manual. So please keep in mind, in auto mode, you don't have much features to play around with because everything is preset. Everything works based on the temperature of the indoor coil. As you can see here, the unit controls set temperature and fan speed according to the intake. The same applies to auto fan. Auto fan and auto louver in heat mode, it all works based on the temperature of the coil. I get calls every winter, summer, every winter, summer. I think I have a problem with my fan motor. I think I have a problem with my louver. It's not opening well. It's not opening correctly. It's not opening fully. Are you in heat mode or cool mode, guys? Heat mode. No, no, no. There's nothing wrong, guys. There's nothing wrong, Mr. Homeowner. It will open. It will fully open. And if you want to test it, go manual. Or if you're not sure of how to go manual with the louver and the fan speed, run it in cool mode. Even if it's very cold outside, just for a few minutes, run it in cool mode to make sure that the fan is running well, all the speeds are working, the louver is opening up and down, left to right, and the speed changes. The fan speed changes. High, medium, low. Medium, high, low. Low, medium, high. Keep changing. Because in cool mode, you have the authority. In cool mode, you have the control. I keep preaching this every year, because every year I get new guys on the block and they need to know. I don't want you to keep changing parts, because that's not a problem. And trust me, fan motor, louvers, and sensors, very rare go bad. Very rare. I can talk about 10 years down the road, yes. After 10 years down the road, yes. They can get weak if not being taken care well. So please keep that in mind. There is no much control when you're in auto mode, auto louver, and auto fan. Okay, now let's talk about the wired remote controller. Your homeowner, your customer is looking for a wired remote controller instead of a wireless. You can offer them, and we have wired remote controllers. All you do is plug into this spot here, CNRMT. Please use your glasses if you need, if you have glasses, if you're using glasses, because next to the CNRMT there is another plug there called auxiliary heat, CNHT. They go into each other, and I get calls once in a while that my thermostat is not working, and if you send me a picture, you will see you plugged it into the wrong spot. So always remember, CNRMT stands for CN remote controller, and this remote controller in the box comes with almost 32 feet cable. It's nice to use the cable that comes with the thermostat because it's from the factory, nothing like factory. And it has the weekly timer, the basic temperature control, air swing, error codes, and you name it. Now we'll talk about a little bit about installation, guys, okay? I know you guys are super good, super cool when it comes to installation. Not very good with repairing, but very good in installation. But I need to remind you a few things. Because when there is a problem, most of the time we blame the contractor who installed it. And in most cases, they are right. The installer made some mistakes, made some load calculation mistakes, picked up a wrong capacity. Now the system is overheating or underheating, overcooling or undercooling. Okay? Then the model, you need to pick the correct model. You know, if you pick a cassette, a ceiling cassette unit, make sure you have space inside the ceiling when there is a problem. Keep in mind, these are units. They break down. They break down the road. 6-7 years down the road, they need servicing. You name it. So you need access. And if you don't have access, I don't know why you are suggesting a cassette. Suggest them a wall mounted or a ceiling suspended. You know what I mean? Or a ducted. So please keep in mind, you need to be very smart. You need to be very sharp. I know you guys are smart. I know you guys are sharp. But sometimes being in a hurry can cause confusion. So take your time, pick the correct load, pick the correct capacity and the correct model. Then comes the location. Don't just pick a location for your benefit. Pick the location for customers' benefit. Make sure the unit is not blowing on someone's head or on someone's face. They will call you. They will call you 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks down the road. They got chills. They got catches. They got stiff necks. Because the unit is blowing straight on their face. So all what you have to remember is the location. Very important. Above windows is not a good idea. Above doors is not a good idea. Facing the people sleeping on the bed or in a living room directly on them, it's not a good idea. It's not a good location. Then comes the back plate. Okay, guys? Sorry. Back plate. This back plate has to be fair and square. Has to be firm. Flush to the wall. Sometimes the wall is not straight. You need to balance the wall. Put a piece of wood. Put a nice sheet of soft wood. Then put your mounting plate and then put the unit. Because the wall is not straight. Because I have seen guys are bringing back indoor fan motors. Less than 6 years, less than 3 years, less than 2 years, less than 9 months. And then we give them a new motor. After 9 months, they bring back again the same motor. And then when we go to the job site, the unit is not straight. Outdoor unit installation is so important. Sometimes on a residential application, they put it next to the kitchen hood. All that oil that is sucked from indoors goes and blocks the condenser pins, the condenser coil. Then it's blocked. Then the system shuts down on high pressure. And then when you read the error code related to high pressure, one of the possibilities and probabilities is to replace the outdoor PCB. The guy replaces the PCB, charges the guy so much of money. After 2 weeks or 1 week, same problem. Then they call me. I don't know what to say. I cannot destroy my contractor or my dealer. I have to protect him. At the same time, I have to protect the homeowner. So now I'm squeezed in between. So guys, please remember, troubleshooting is easy if you follow the practice, if you follow good guidance. It's very, very important. Guys have changed so many parts for no reason. "31 years plus. I am 31 years plus in this industry, and I'm still seeing new stuff, and I'm still learning. And I'm learning from whom? From you. I learn every day. Every phone call is my training. And that training I push it on to you. That experience, I push it on to you. So please, troubleshooting is important to get it right so that you don't go back. All you go back for is for another project, for another good opportunity, for another bid to win another big project. Always remember to keep space at the top. Keep enough of room at the top so that air doesn't get trapped there. The guy is calling me in the morning or in the night and telling me, "Paul, last night I left the system at 21 degrees, 22 degrees, and it never came on." That's because hot air got trapped here in heat mode, and it put that sensor to sleep. And that sensor told the compressor outside, "I'm happy." Meanwhile, the guys are freezing downstairs. The guys are super freezing because hot air got trapped. Always keep enough of room, guys. Keep enough of room So there is enough of circulation of air, cold and hot, supply and return, supply and return. I mentioned to you about the backplate. The backplate that killed motors, that was killing motors less than 9 months. Always put enough of anchors. Put enough of anchors, 12, 13, 14, 15 anchors. As long as this backplate is nice and square, nice and flat. If you're putting the outer unit on a block, make sure there is enough of room. If you're in a snow belt area, if you're in a country or in a region where there's lots of snow, please keep enough of room at the bottom. Because during snowy days, this unit can freeze up easily at the bottom. Even if there is a drain pan. Even if there is a drain pan. Gradient. When you're making that hole to go out, always keep it at a slant. Keep it at a slope. Don't drill straight. Guys, I know most of you know that, but some of you who don't know, please don't keep it straight. Slant it. Slant your drill, your Hilti, or your Bosch, or your Milwaukee. Keep it at a slant and go all the way out, because you need slope for your drain. Your drain is at the very bottom. Always remember, guys, your drain is at the very bottom. Then comes the two pipes, liquid and suction, and then comes your wire, power supply. Never keep like this. You will always have problems, especially on a high humid day. Especially on a high humid day, you will always have these problems. This picture here shows your spirit level. We need this unit to be square. We need this unit to be level, because that compressor needs that oil back. We don't want any oil to be trapped anywhere else, but to come straight back to the compressor. So please keep that compressor straight. Keep that unit straight. Keep that unit level. Flaring. We always talk about flaring. If you are new in this trade, please practice flaring every day. When you go to the workshop, when you go to your office, take 10 pieces of small pipes and start flaring. I'm telling you, you'll become a champion, because there are so many guys out there with vast experience in this trade are not very good in flaring. Always try your best to avoid cracks. And if you have cracks, chop it off and reflare. Please do not use leak locks. We do not encourage people to use leak locks, because in our system we have mashers, we have strainers that can easily go, that leak lock can easily go in. If it slips in, no matter how careful you are, it will go in and get locked there. It will go and block the screen, and then we have a problem. Pump down, pressure issues, you name it. Apply a little bit of compressor oil. Go to your nearest supplier, get the compressor oil, the POE, apply to your flaring tool, and you will get a good flare. A lifetime leak-proof flare. Trust me. Everybody knows on a rainy day what happens. 100% humidity. So leaving your pipes open for a longer period of time, or even shorter period of time, you're encouraging trouble. You're encouraging big trouble. So please keep your pipes intact, all the time sealed. Wiring. Always ground your wire. Don't just run wires and forget about the ground. Ground is very critical, very crucial if you are doing the wiring, okay? Always pressure test the system. Please don't over pressurize the system, guys. 400 and 350 and 400 psi is more than enough for your nitrogen test. Too much of pressure will hurt the valve here. Look at my cursor. The valve over here and over here will get pushed in with too much of nitrogen testing. And that can cause some of your 410 to come out, to escape. And when you're getting rid of the nitrogen, you will run away with some of 410. And if you don't run away with 410, you might have contamination. So if you're doing this system during summertime, you may not see a problem, because in summertime, this compressor doesn't ramp up too much as compared to winter season. You will see the results in winter time. It starts to freeze, low on refrigerant, and you name it. Soap solution. If you don't have these fancy gauges, fancy tools, soap solution is enough. As soon as you apply nitrogen, check for leaks. You don't want to come next week. You don't want to come next year. You only want to come for a good reason. Vacuum. Always vacuum the system down to 300 microns. Most of the guys on a 10 to 20 feet run of piping, they get down to 150, 180, 150, 180. So please, good vacuum means good job. Good job means no complaints. No complaints means more jobs, more projects, and you're growing and growing, growing and growing. Please put your expertise before rushing. Your expertise is important, guys. I know some guys in this training today are probably 30 years in the making, maybe 40 years in the making, and they know what I'm talking about. Your service is more important than rushing. Good job spells out more work, and more work is more money. Good reputation, there's nothing like good reputation, guys. Always remember, when you have the time, okay, when the system is under vacuum or under pressure, open up the Indo unit, pour some water. Take a mug or jug, fill with water, pour in the drain pan. Make sure it's flowing nicely outside, because maybe you are doing your job winter time or fall time. So the homeowner is not going to put the unit in cooling, and maybe there is no enough of humidity. So test it manually. How you test it manually? Pour enough of water in the drain pan, make sure everything is going out. These are simple things. You don't have to rush. Running amps, check your running amps. Everything is good, you leave your job site. This is a picture of your Indo unit. Okay, this picture of your Indo unit, when you open, you will get 3 wires and ground. You can measure your voltages when you have a problem at the Indo unit or at the outer unit. When you want to adjust the blower wheel, or when you want to change the motor for whatever reason, there is a screw there on the right hand side. When you're facing the unit, on the right hand side there is a screw. Open that screw, lift the coil gently, and the blower wheel is out. Slide in the motor, put back the blower wheel, tighten the screw, make sure the wheel is not wobbly. Make sure the bushing on the left hand side has gone in nicely into the blower wheel shaft. You have no issues. Run the unit in fan only. Make sure it's not shaky. Then put everything back together. You may not get a new unit You may not get these calls on new units, obviously. You might get these calls on older units, but this is how you do it. All you need to have is soft hands, gentle hands. If you can afford, if your company can afford 2 guys to replace a blower wheel, is acceptable, because one can hold the blower, the coil, the evaporator coil, and one can remove the blower wheel and the motor and push it back in. As I mentioned earlier, don't purge using the internal refrigerant. Don't purge the system. Some people would do that. Please do not do it. Vacuum the system down to 300, even below. The lower the lower you go, the better for you and me, and for the homeowner. In my first slide, in one of my first slides, I mentioned easy retrieving code. Why I said easy? Because even the homeowner can do it and save you time and money and save you another trip. Because if the homeowner calls you and says, hey John, my timer light is flashing, then you can tell John, Smith, please do me a favor, if you can retrieve the error code so that I can start somewhere. You know, so if the homeowner calls you and tells you the green light is flashing, that's not a problem. That means the unit is in defrost cycle or on standby. So please make sure you differentiate between the green light flashing and the yellow light, timer light flashing. Okay, when that light flashes, yes, we have a problem. And it's so easy, guys. It is so easy, and I will keep repeating, it is so easy to retrieve the error code, because there is only one error code that the Indo unit will store. The Indo unit can never store more than one error code, just one error code. All you do is tell the homeowner, take a toothpick and press into the check opening, into the check button. It's at the bottom of the remote controller. Press and hold for 5 seconds until your remote controller shows a blank screen with 2 dashes. Once it shows a blank screen with 2 dashes while facing the Indo unit, with the timer up and down, not the temperature up and down, the timer up and down, keep scrolling until you hear a long beep like tit, 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 tit. When you hear that beep, that means that's the problem. That's where the problem is. Tell the homeowner, stop. Look at the remote controller and tell me what's the error code. It's either H as in Henry or F as in Frank, followed by a number. So over here down, it's going to be H as in Henry or F as in Frank. And at the top, there will be numbers. F96, F94, F91, H11, H14, you name it. But only one error code will beep while you are scrolling, because the Indo unit can only store the one error code and the most latest error code. And that's all you think about. That's all you can think about, and that's all you need to fix this unit. Then guys, we have an app. We have an app, Panasonic AC Quick Service Guide. Go on your device, smartphone, Apple phone, Android, type Panasonic AC Quick Service Guide, download the app. If you don't have the app, the error codes are listed on the Indo unit and at the outdoor unit. You can easily open up the cover and you will see all the error codes inside here. Then when you fix the error, okay guys, when you fix the error code, everything is up and running, Don't just take off. Please don't take off. Please erase the error code. Please erase the error code, and it doesn't take more than 5 seconds. All you need to do is, when the unit is closed like this, open it, okay? Press that button. There is a push button there. Press it and hold, and you will hear one beep. When you hear one beep, you go to your remote controller and press the check button once. Just take a toothpick or a prong, whatever, press once. And when you press once, you will hear another beep. So over there at the unit, you press and hold, you hear tick. You rush to your remote controller and press the check once, you will hear another tick. You're done. Error code is gone. Error code is clear. So that's your remote controller. That's your check. Take a piece of toothpick or a prong that can go in there and press and hold. You get into error code. Use the timer. This is your timer up and down. This is the timer up and down to scroll until you get a beeping sound on the Indo unit. That's the error code. Okay, it's so straightforward. It's so simple. This is general basic practice, you know, when you're installing the unit. Don't install the auto unit like 20 feet in the air. Keep it at a good height so that this guy can install it. This guy can troubleshoot it without worrying about somebody to hold my ladder or from falling down. So please, guys, bring that pipe down, cover it in a slim duct, make it look neat, make it look nice, make it look clean. Put the unit just above the ground. If it's a bigger unit, 18,000 and above, even 12,000 and above, put it on a stand, on a snow stand. If it's a small unit, 9,000, if you put it on a wall, you may not hear the vibration, depending on structure to structure. But keep it above ground, depending on where you are. Follow your guidance code related, because in some areas over here, some are 24 inches above the ground, 2 feet. Some are 1 feet above the ground, depending on how much of snow you get on an average base in a year. Those are your tools. Clean them. Keep them clean all the time. I know you don't have time, but make some time. Make some time to exercise. Make some time to clean your tools. These are your common tools. Wiring. Wiring is so crucial, guys, especially the control wire that is running from in to out. The communication wire, 1, 2, 3, and ground should never ever be joined in between. Never cut that wire and join in between. Always get a full cable, a complete cable, end to end. I get guys calling me and saying, Paul, you told me not to cut wires. I had no choice. I had a short wire. I cut it and it's running fine. And you told me not to cut. It will not work. I told him, hold on. After a week or so, you get a call. Oh, are you joking? I said, I'm telling you. And right enough, they called me back and said, yes, I had to go back to that house. They called me H11 error code. Because that wire between indoor and outdoor is constantly talking. They are constantly talking between indoor and outdoor to get that communication protocol going. And when you put a joint, you're creating some kind of resistance, interruption, noise, disturbance, and that causes H11 error code. Because when there is a split second of miscommunication, the system shuts down. And when the system shuts down, you can get away by resetting, but I'll tell you, after a week or so, you'll be called again. So always remember not to cut wires, not to join wires. Never use connectors. Never use connectors, never use Marits, never join wires, period. No matter which brand you're working with. This is free advice. Twisting wires, not acceptable. Please do not join wires. Get a control cable that is complete from end to end. Spring benders. Always be the best that you can be. Whichever college you went, the teacher explained to you this. The best tools makes you look good. Exactly. Use them. If you don't have them, buy them. Buy the bending tools. If you need a spring bender, go and get a spring bender. If you need a fixed bender, go and get a fixed bender. Don't use your elbows. Don't use your 40 years experience. Please do not use your knee. Use your benders. Use your tools. Get a good clean bend. This guy was 40 years into the trade. And see what happened. He thought he got away with it because it was insulated. He thought he got away. But then when the compressor started running and shutting down on high pressure, that's where the problem came up. He cut open the corner, he cut open the bend, and this is what he saw. In this case, the guy blamed the manufacturer of the pipe. And I said, okay, yeah, it could be right. But why take chances? Why take chances? Use tools. Do a perfect bend. If you don't have a bender, go and get an elbow, a copper elbow, and if you need to braze. And obviously when you're brazing, you need to use nitrogen. Flaring tools, I told you. If you're not good in flaring, practice. Practice makes you perfect. Brazing. If you're brazing, go ahead and braze. But please, look at that picture on the right. How can you get rid of it? It's by using nitrogen. Always blow through nitrogen when you're brazing to get rid of those flakes. Oxidization. That is called oxidization. You got to get rid of it. Because I'll tell you, if they go inside the unit and it gets stuck on those screens that I mentioned to you, the system is going to shut down. And who you're going to blame? You're going to blame the manufacturer. This unit is a piece of crap. I get these calls all the time. But they don't tell me what they use. So please, best practice, guys, best practice. Don't abuse your profession. That's what I tell guys. Don't abuse your profession. It's a good profession. You are a good guy. Obey it, and it will never disappoint you. Never ever disappoint you. Don't use pipes that were open in your truck. If you need to use it and you think they are good, flush it. Flush it before you use it, or before you connect it to a new system. Always remember to block these pipes. Don't just rush. If you rush, you crush. Then what happens now? Because you didn't clean those pipes and what have you. You see, this is what happens. Compressor is overheating. Compressor is gone. Another problem we have is these wrenches. Most of my guys don't use torque wrenches. They say, I go by my feeling. I go by my experience. Don't use these torque wrenches, these adjustable wrenches all the way. You can use it for a startup. You can use it to start tightening, and when you get to a spot, please use this guy. And all our tightness and specs are mentioned in our manuals, in all our installation manuals. Newtons per meter squared, foot-pounds, you name it. Even when you're tightening your wheel, your car, always use a torque wrench. Insist on your mechanic to use torque wrench, or that tire is going to come out flying and hit somebody on the highway. It's the same story here. If you don't tighten it well, or if you over tighten it, you're going to cause leak. The nuts are going to freeze, and when they freeze, they're going to crack. And when they crack, that's how you get completely out of refrigerant. I have seen it firsthand. I have seen it with my own eyes. I'm not talking because I feel like talking and because there is these slides here I'm talking about. No, these slides are put together based on my field day in, day out experience. I've been places where they are it's super, super cold. A cup of coffee will freeze in less than 30 seconds on the roof while changing or brazing a pipe or a piece of joint, a small joint. A coffee gets frozen in a matter of 30 seconds. Those areas. I visited a job site that had a compressor defective on a bigger system somewhere close to Alaska. And that day it was super, super cold, way below -40, way below -40. And the guy brought for me coffee, and I was just finishing a simple joint, a joint less than a minute. And the coffee he brought got frozen right away. So what I'm trying to say is, no matter where you are, use the proper tools and nothing will happen. Everything will just flow smoothly. In every box, there is an installation manual. And these are your values. 18 for quarter-inch newtons per minute. 3/8 up to 3/4. If your area is experiencing heavy moisture, high humidity, always go longer. Always vacuum the system longer. There is no harm, guys. And always remember to replace that oil in your compressor, in your vacuum pump compressor. Always remember, guys, do not use the same oil. Just like your car, every 5,000 K, we use kilometers here. So every 5,000, depending on the model and the age of the car, you change oil. Same with the compressor oil. Same with the vacuum pump oil. Always change that oil for good vacuuming, for good micron achievement. When you have a problem, I always tell guys, use your amp meter first. Always use your amp meter first before hooking up your gauges. I don't like hooking up gauges, guys. I like using my amp meter first. Then if I need to use my gauges, then I will tell them, okay, hook up your gauges. But check your running amps. Your running amps can tell you a lot of things. And if you cannot find the correct running amps, put the unit in test run. I will explain to you in the next slides how to put the unit into test run. It's very simple. In test run, the compressor is going to run at a frequency that is fixed. And that's the time you can measure the true running amps, total running amps, total pressure. In heating, anywhere from 350 to 425. In cooling, above 125 to 140. 150 is okay. I know other manufacturers, for them 110 is okay. For us, it's designed differently and even better and even more efficient at 125 to 140. Always measure and weigh in the refrigerant in liquid form. I know you know that. I know you know very well in liquid form, but I'm reminding you to put it in liquid form because sometimes guys are too big in a hurry and they forget and they put in vapor. People have done that. So please guys, liquid form, weigh it in, weigh it out. Never use the same refrigerant, never. You will not get good results. Please use new refrigerant. If your system was low on refrigerant, recover the refrigerant. There is no harm in measuring it, how much was inside. But at the end of the day, when you're charging the system, charge with new refrigerant. The composition is perfect as compared to the old refrigerant. Look at this unit. This unit was low on refrigerant. A few ounces, about 8 to 9 ounces less. And guess what? It wasn't defrosting completely. And this unit is a 9000 XC. It has a baseband heater, but it didn't help much because the defrost cycle was not strong enough. And it was not strong enough because there was not enough of juice. There was not enough of refrigerant to melt completely all of this. So keep in mind, enough of refrigerant is always important. This picture here is not refrigerant issue. This picture here is the sensor. The sensor was out of the well. How it came out, I don't know. The defrost sensor was out of the well and it wasn't sensing cold temperatures, cold refrigerant temperatures, and it never brought the system into defrost cycle. And the unit just kept going and going and going. Thanks to our strong copper pipe that the manufacturer buys it from, the coils never bust. I have very bad experience with other manufacturers. At this stage, the copper will definitely give way, and you will have to change the outdoor unit. But in this case, our copper pipes are strong, and it's very durable, and it stands stood still, and it never leaked. So the guy told me, put back the sensor, and everything was good. Another thing is to make sure. Look at these two top pictures here. These top two pictures is snow. The bottom one has got cleared. Always tell the homeowner, guys. Always tell the homeowner to treat their AC just like a driveway, because they need to clear the ice. They need to clear the snow. Okay? So please, for better performance, clear the snow on top. When you open up the front cover, you are exposed to everything. You have access to the fan, the board, the compressor, the four-way valve, everything. And the electronic expansion valve is at the back, so you might have to open up the side cover. Then when you open up the top cover here, the top cover of the unit, you will see this PCB here. This PCB is this one here. This is the top view. This is the top view, and this is the back of the condenser. This is the back coil of the condenser. The fan motor is somewhere here down, and this is the PCB. It's fully insulated to protect against water and snow. That doesn't mean you pour a whole bucket of water to test it. No, please don't do that. But in the same PCB, there is a spot here where I highlighted. It's not insulated. The reason being, it's there for you to short it if you need to pump down the system. If you need to pump down the system, you short those two pipes, those two pins, and the system goes into pump down. That can also tell you that the outer unit is in good shape because the compressor kicked in and the compressor is running and it's pumping down. So if there's any suspicion about the PCB, indoor or outdoor, you can get your results there. You can get your answers there. Okay, guys? That brings us to the end. That brings us to the end of our single zone. Now, let's move to our next segment of our multi-zone. Oops. Sorry, guys. Okay. Now we will talk about our multi-zones, guys. And the multi-zone that we will talk about is the 5-zone here. I brought up the 5-zone as an example for multi-zone training, but honestly, it applies to all the zones, whether it's a 2-zone, a 3-zone, a 4-zone, or a 5-zone. It applies the same. But just to remind you, the 3-zone can be used with the new WKUAs, only the 3 zones. I had put it in my first 2 slides, and I'm reminding you again. This 5-zone, you cannot use at the moment. Maybe sometime down the road, when they get it approved, we may be able to use with the WKUAs. But for now, the rest of the multi-zones, 2, 4, and 5, you will keep using the RKUAs. Okay? I don't expect you to remember everything. If you have any questions, you can always ask us. We are a phone call away. Okay. Can everybody see the slide? Fallon? Are you there, Fallon?
I'm here, Paulo. You all right? What's going on?
Yeah, Tony. Oh, Paul. Who's...
Tony.
Yeah, Tony, how are you, man?
Good. How you doing, buddy?
Good, thank you.
Good day, right?
I see Paul said, yeah, we can see it.
Oh, yeah, I can see everything. You're good right now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, thank you. Okay, guys. So let's talk about the operating range, okay? Most of all our multi-zones operate down to -5 degrees Fahrenheit. Over here in Canada, we say we go with Celsius, but it doesn't matter really. -5 Fahrenheit, no problem. In cooling, -10, no problem. Okay? So our 5-zone can be installed with any of these models. Okay, guys? Any of these models, you can install the 5-zone, the 2-zone, the 3-zone, and the 4-zone. But there's one thing in mind you have to keep is the minimum and the maximum capacity. Okay? The minimum and the maximum capacity. If you fail to maintain that, you are in trouble. And what trouble? you will get an H12 error. H12 means capacity error. You have either exceeded or you are below the minimum. So please keep in mind, guys, if you are not following this very easily, always give us a call. We will guide you in the right direction to guide you as far as the capacities are concerned. We are not here to tell you what units to put in what room. Okay, that is up to you. But we will guide you to give you what is needed to maintain this system to work well. So in all our multi-zones, guys, in all our multi-zones, at least 2 indoor units must be connected. Now, Paul and Tony told me 2 units. Okay, I'm going to put any 2 units. No, please don't put any 2 units. You have to maintain again minimum and maximum capacity. So 2 units, if you picked on a 36,000, for example, we are talking about 36,000. If you put the 2 sevens, you are at 4 kilowatts, and 4 kilowatts is still under 4.5. So this is not good. This is not good. So please keep in mind to maintain minimum and maximum capacity. If you put 2 9,000s, you're good, because now we are above 4.5. We are above 4.5 and we have not crossed 17.5 kilowatts. But please don't buy a 36,000 and just put 2 9,000s. Money wise, economy wise, that's not good. Okay, I always tell guys, when you're buying a multi-zone, utilize all the ports. If need be, utilize all the ports. The customer has paid top dollar. The customer has paid top dollar, so utilize all the ports. And here is the conversion between kilowatts into BTUs. 3412, 3,412 BTUs per hour is equal to 1 kilowatt. So if you had a 36,000 BTU, I would pick a 9,000, I would pick a 12, I would pick a 7 and a 5 here and there. But don't just put an 18 and a 24, even though the catalog says that. The catalog says so many things. I'm not against the catalog. I'm never against the catalog. But sometimes common sense is important too. Utilize all those 5 zones and put reasonable amount of capacity on each zone. But now if you have a special project, then yes, I agree with you. Now, here is where you need to pay attention, guys. Because, why I'm saying that? Because our multi-zones are totally different from other competitors. Other competitors are doing it differently, and we are doing it totally differently. And if you have installed other guys, multi-zone, you will need to pay attention here, because all what we need you to pay attention to is the pipe sizes. If you don't install the correct pipe sizes, you will cut the lifespan of this compressor, the lifespan of this unit. It's designed to work more than 10 years without any failure. So please, our outdoor unit has 2 size ports on all the zones, whether it's a 2, 3, 4 or a 5 zone, all have 3/8 and quarter, 3/8 and quarter. 3/8 suction, 1/4 inch liquid, 3/8 suction, 1/4 inch liquid. And if you have a 12,000 or an 18,000 that uses 1/2 inch, a 12 or an 18 that uses 1/2 inch, run the 3/8 and the 1/4 from the outdoor unit all the way to the indoor unit. And when you get to the indoor unit, buy one of these adapters that converts from 3/8 to 1/2 inch and use it at the indoor head. Don't do it the other way around. Please do not run 1/2 inch and 1/4 all the way to the outdoor unit and then reduce it at the outdoor unit. Please do not do that. The compressor is not designed to pump that much of refrigerant, that much of volumetric efficiency for that thickness, all the way to your indoor unit of 12,000 and 18,000. For the 24,000, it's a different story. For the 24,000, you will run a ½ inch suction or gas line, ½ inch, and then you will increase it to 5/8 at the indoor unit and decrease it to 3/8 at the outdoor unit. So if you're installing a 24,000 on a multi-zone, you will need 2 adapters. For a 18 and a 12, you will only need 1 adapter at the indoor section. For a 5, 7, and 9, you don't need any adapter because they are 3/8 and quarter, all the way end to end. So when you leave this session, I don't expect you to remember this. But if you remember, very good. But please, when you have a job, when you have a project, always call Tony. Always call us. We will help you. We will guide you. Then comes the pipeline. These units have been in the lab for years before they got released. And I'm not joking. They have been released after testing of more than 5 years for pipeline, for height, all because they want to maintain constant efficiency, strength of that compressor, keeping in mind oil return. All what you see here, height difference, pipeline, you name it, all is about oil return. The focus, the aim is to make sure that the compressor gets its oil back, because that oil protects that compressor, cools the winding from overheating. And when that oil comes back from the indoor unit, it cools the winding. And that cold vapor that comes back from the indoor units keeps the compressor cold. So always keep in mind, guys, if the unit says don't exceed 82 feet, do not. In this case, 82 feet per indoor unit. Guys, we're talking about multi-zone. So 82 feet per indoor unit. But guys, remember the unit is only charged 447.6 feet for this model, for this 36,000 BTU. If you're installing a 2-zone, a 3-zone, or a 4-zone, it's different. But the 82 feet remains the same. 262 feet also remains the same. Height difference also remains the same with other models, especially on the multi-zones, okay? So bottom line, whether you're installing a multi or a single, always keep in mind to read the manual that comes with the unit, because the manual that comes with the unit has the current info. The info I'm giving you here is for training purpose, while keeping you under notice, making sure that you pay attention to these little things that can cause big trouble. These little things that can cause big trouble. Please always make sure that you measure your pipes, flush your pipes, vacuum them religiously. Religiously vacuum them down to 300, please. On the commercial side, 500 and below, we are okay. But on the residential side, 300 and below is what we need. When I'm installing a multi-zone, I like this design. I like this design because each and every indoor unit is kind of in an average spot. It's kind of getting an average pipeline. I don't like this kind of application, but if you have to, you have no choice, no problem. But again, on a technical point of view, this unit here will have, the outdoor unit will have to work super hard for this unit to get optimum cooling or heating. So in my case, I always look for a sweet, soft spot to place this outdoor unit so it doesn't have to struggle that much. Even if the outer unit is saying, I'm good for 82 feet, that doesn't mean you go crazy. Oh, the outer unit I'm buying, it's good for 82 feet. No, I agree with you. But, you know, just because you can run 10 kilometers a day at the age of 30, you will not be able to run 10 kilometers a day when you're at the age of 50. Your knees are going to go. Your hips are going to go. So you want longer life while maintaining good energy efficiency. You know, you want to play with your grandkids. You want to play with your kids. So you got to maintain your good health. The same applies with this unit. It's the same concept, guys. Those are your indoor units, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't cross them. Don't cross the wiring. Always I have calls. H36, sorry, H39, F17. Crossing the wires will always be callbacks. And I will teach you, if you have not been taught, I will teach you today how to do testing to avoid cross wiring. A, B, C, D, E, what you see here are the electronic expansion valves. Electronic expansion valves, when these units are not calling for heat, any one of them, they will close, but they will be slightly open. There will be slight allowance for oil return. So keep in mind, they are never fully closed. When other zones are running, the zones that are not running are still allowing slight amount of refrigerant to go through, because we want oil back. We don't want oil to get trapped at the indoor unit or somewhere in between. We want that oil to come back into this compressor here. Sensors are everywhere. We have liquid and gas sensors, suction and liquid sensors, compressor discharge. Okay, compressor discharge to stop the compressor from running too hot. We have the ambient sensor from regulating the pressure and regulating the fan speed. This is a wiring diagram that you will see on the outdoor unit top panel. There is a sticker there. You can follow it in the service manual or in your app. On the app or a service manual, you'll find this chart. Check the sensors. I mentioned to you earlier, very rare they go bad. But I'll tell you, they do go bad sometimes. And in most cases, I've noticed the sensors go bad after 8, 9, 10 years. Then comes the compressor. If you are suspecting the compressor is defective, check the coil. But I'll tell you, in most of these inverter-driven compressors, they very rare go short to ground. I have not seen one yet. I have seen the older compressors, not the inverter compressors. That's the normal central compressors. They go short to ground. But the inverter I've yet to see. Mostly they seized, mechanically seized. But the winding reads good. And mechanically seized, I can tell you one thing. It's oil return. There was poor or no oil return that killed that compressor. So always keep in mind, guys, your pipe length, the longer you go, it's okay, but it's not a big fan for the compressor to work harder. So keep in mind, if you have the luxury, if you have the opportunity to make the unit come closer, 10 feet, 15 feet, 20 feet is okay. Even 25 feet is good. Even 45 feet is not bad. But keep in mind, the longer you go, the less energy efficiency in the long run, in the longer run. Now let's talk about this service PCB. On a multi-zone, you will see this PCB on the left-hand side when you open up the panel where you have all these wires here. Your main power comes here, your unit A, B, C, D, okay? So that service PCB talks about many things, but I want you to focus on a few things only. A few things like pump down. You have the pump down option. You can pump down the system, no problem. Okay? You can pump down the system when you have a problem or when you want to add units. No problem, pump it down. It explains very easily. Push and if you open up the service manual, you will find how to do it. But over here, it's pretty straightforward. All you need to do is close your liquid line, press that for a few seconds, the pump down will begin. You will look at your gauge, the compressor runs at a fixed frequency. All the electronic expansion valves are fully open. The Indo units are forced to be in cool mode. Even if they were in heat mode, they will switch over to cool mode. All the gas will be collected to the Indo unit, sorry, to the outdoor unit. And as you are watching the gauge, you are watching the lights. The lights will tell you 3 minutes left, 2 minutes left, 1 minute left, and you're done. Before you're done, make sure you're ready to close the gas valve. Do your stuff, finish, re-vacuum the system, give it a good 50 to an hour minute vacuum, and release the gas again, and you're up and running. For whatever reason, pump down was not ready, but you had pressed it by mistake. You can always cancel the pump down by pressing that same switch again. Now let's talk about test run. Everybody tells me test run is good when I'm done with my job. When I finish job, my vacuuming, everything is ready, release the gas, test run, I put the unit in test run. Well, test run is not a bad idea to do that after you finish your job, but if you have crossed the wires, that's a bad idea. Because in test run, if you have crossed the wires, when I say crossed wires, I meant unit A wiring went to unit B. It has happened in the past, it has happened to you who are listening today, and it will happen to you again in the future. So that test run will not find that fault. That's why I tell my guys, when you're done, turn one unit at a time. Leave this test run when you have a problem. When you have a problem 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years down the road, you have a problem, put the unit in test run, let the compressor run like crazy to the maximum. You will have the opportunity to measure your running ends, your pressures, and you name it. So please, test run, leave it for service issues. When you have service problems, you can use that test run. Not for commissioning. Do not use test run for commissioning. For commissioning, run one unit at a time. Let it run for 5-10 minutes. You're happy with the first unit, switch it off, go to the second unit. Switch it on, off the first unit. Run one unit at a time. I'll tell you, you will not come back. You will not be called back. You will be called back for a different reason, not for cross wiring. So that's basically how you do test run. You press and hold for 5 seconds. You're in test run cooling with the two lights, with the two top lights. If you keep pressing, the second light will go off, the third light will come on. You are in test run heating. Those are the two things all you need to know. Test run cooling, test run heating. So test run cooling is these two buttons, the two top buttons. Test run heating is the first and the third. Okay? And again, if you cannot remember, always read the manual. If you have no time to read the manual, give us a call, we will help you. This is what I don't want you to use, wiring error check. It kind of rectifies a minor error, but it may come back after maybe you change the PCB, or maybe there was a power outage for about 48 to 96 hours, you know, or maybe you switched off the unit on a vacation trip and you brought it, and when you came back, you turn it on. Everything that is in a service PCB on the wiring side got erased. So please don't use this option, even though it's there. It is just going to waste your time and energy, honestly. Power save. Power save button is good when the homeowner thinks that the unit is too noisy and maybe it's too powerful. So you can energize the power save button by saving probably some energy. At the same time, the noise won't be that loud. Why? Because that compressor now is going to drive right up to 75%, not 100%. Okay, it's going to go up to 75% and slow down. In the meantime, you're saving some energy here, from 20 amps to 18 amps. Okay, so the noise levels will drop, capacity will drop at the same time. So that's the beauty about power save. In most cases, I've not seen people using power save. Okay, so it's there if you need it, and it's there if you don't need it. Priority mode. What is priority mode? Priority mode is given to the operation of the indoor unit with the highest capacity. Okay, so what happens if there is an 18,000 and a bunch of 9,000s? The 18,000, if this switch is activated, 18,000 unit has the priority to change modes, even if the mode was in the opposite mode. So let's say the person with the 9,000 came in first into the house or into the office and turned the unit in heating. You that owns the 18,000 goes in, you can change it from heating to cooling. Only if you have activated that SW5 button. Okay, that's all about the priority mode. Then some guys will call me, especially in some warmer regions closer to Seattle, they will say, Paul, I want to use this heat pump only for cooling. I have my own boiler, I have my own source of heat. I don't need this heat pump for heating. So all you tell them is cut that jumper. There is a jumper on the service PCB. You cut it off, you are in cool mode only. And sometime down the road, they want back their heat pump. Just take a solder and solder it. And you're back again into heat pump mode. Now, if you noticed, I didn't speak any troubleshooting on the single zone, because the troubleshooting error codes for a single and a multi-zone is the same. The error code is the same. And if you look at the app, if you have the app, you will see all the error codes there applies for both single and multi. There are few error codes like the F17, which is freezing of an indoor unit during standby mode, and H36 cross wiring. These two error codes are very popular when somebody has crossed the wire, and that somebody is none other than the installer. Okay, thank you, Tony. Panasonic AC service guide, that's the app. It's so easy. You will be surprised how easy it is. I use it all the time. Everybody calls me for whatever reason and they have an error code, I quickly jump onto my app and I give them the answer. 99.9 success rate on that app. So please use that app. H11 has been chosen as the first and a very popular code. H11 is very popular because on a brand new system, definitely you have crossed the wires. Definitely you have crossed the wires. No matter which God you swear on, you have crossed the wires. And if you have not crossed the wires, you have hooked up a condensate pump, and that condensate pump, you cut some wires and made some joints there that is causing this H11. So please do not cut and join the control wires that is running. Somebody is asking for a link. Paul Sutton is asking for a link for the app. So it's basically you just type on your phone, Paul, and you will see the app and just download it. So guys, H11. Okay, thank you for the email after the class. Okay guys, H11 on an older installation, most likely 99% is the outdoor PCB, or something has happened with the outdoor board, or with the electronic expansion valve coil. Okay guys, so please, H11 on a brand new install is definitely your wiring mess up. On an old installation, start with the outdoor unit, and it's so easy. The app guides you step by step. This is all what you see here is all from the app. Disconnect terminal 3 at the outdoor unit and measure between 2 and the screw, and check using this multimeter. Please do not use an amp probe. I keep repeating this because I had a problem with one guy using an amp probe and the meter wasn't fluctuating enough. And then we concluded that the outdoor PCB was bad, but we made a wrong diagnosis because the meter that was used was this amp probe. So please use this meter here that you can see for H11 codes, for measuring thermistors, sensors. Please use this multimeter, please. They give you good results. And if you don't have this meter, invest in one. They're not expensive. They are not expensive for the money you are making. So please, amp probe for amps, multimeter for H11 error codes and sensors. H12, as I mentioned to you, capacity error. Back in the day, guys were mix and matching. They were putting wrong in the units, or they were exceeding capacities. And that's where we would get H12. So this was 6 years and above, before 6.5 years when I joined this company. As soon as I joined this company, I was getting these calls, H12. And I straightened them up by just telling a phone call away will solve your problem. If you're not sure of something, it's better you call. Please call us. We are waiting for your call. It's better you ask questions than making a mistake. Because the mistake that you make in this heat pump industry is huge. You need to pump down. You need to remove pipe sizes. You need to do so many things. And how much of my profit are you making on these projects? Not much. So please, a phone call away we are. H15, I have never seen this error code, but it can happen. And if you have this error code, this is how you troubleshoot it. H16, I had 2 or a maximum of 3. The pumping of the compressor was not powerful enough. So they replaced the compressor and everything went up and up, back and running. So guys, when you're changing the compressor, okay, and when you think the compressor got contaminated with what have you, and if you want to flush the system, get rid of the electronic expansion valve body. Because when you're flushing the outdoor coil or the outdoor unit condenser coil, you might accumulate all the dirt at that point, and you may freeze or seize the electronic expansion valve body. And it will get blocked, it will get clogged with all the dirt. And when you put a new compressor in, you have a problem. Now what? Paul, you told me to change the compressor because I had this problem, but now I have this pump down issue. What's going on? Well, when you are flushing the system, this is what happened. So please keep that in mind. When you're flushing with nitrogen, when you're blowing with nitrogen, the indoor unit, that's okay. But when you're doing the outdoor unit, get the expansion valve body out of the equation. Flush everything, blow everything, then put it back, and then you're up and running again. Okay? H27, outdoor sensor. This can happen if snow snow got piled up so much on the unit, and now it's throwing all the wrong readings. So now the sensor is picking up all snow temperatures, ice temperatures. So make sure you go outside, you clean everything, and you should be good. H28, very rare, but it can happen. H33, my experience is low voltage. Low voltage caused H33. So make sure your voltage is good, guys. Outdoor sensor, outdoor gas pipe temperature sensor, very rare, but it can happen. This is on the zones, on the liquid pipe, on the liquid suction line, the suction line, sorry, not liquid, sorry. The suction line on unit A, B, C, D, this is the problem. If it's freezing, if it's too hot, whatever, it can trigger this, but very rare. I have never seen that, but again, it can happen. H97, very popular winter time. H97, every winter, I get 1 or 2 phone calls. And when they go out and they look at the unit, one guy called me and says he can't find the unit because it was covered with snow. And 1 or 2 guys, they called me, they said, okay, the fan blade was stuck, frozen, stuck. They cleared the ice, they cleared the snow, everything up and running. And 1 or 2 guys that called me, obviously the fan motor was defective, they replaced it, up and running. H98 is a hidden error. It's a protection error. It will shut down when less indoor units are running in heat mode. When less indoor units are running in heat mode, you will get an H98, but it will not shut down the system. It will store in the EEPROM. The system will keep running unless the unit is super dirty. If the unit is super clogged and super dirty, then yes, the system will shut down and it will start flashing and H98. But if there is no clogged air filter, no dust, no air short cycling, then definitely it's the capacity is not matching with the outdoor unit. The indoor units have been switched off and only one indoor unit is running. The unit will shut down on protection and it will come back on again and it will keep running. So not to worry much about the H98. H99, it will never happen in heat mode. It's an error code in cool mode or dry mode. And what that means? That means you are low on refrigerant. In all my experience with H99, in my 6.5 years with Panasonic, it's low on refrigerant. But sometimes, if you tell me, Paul, there is no problem with the gas, then the guy left the unit in dry mode, and overnight, the temperature dropped. And when the temperature dropped so low, the pressures dropped, the humidity dropped, and the coil temperature dropped down below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, and the unit shut down in less than 3 times in an hour. So H99 we normally get in summertime and high humid days. F11, 1 or 2 calls, and for some reason it was super weird, but I can expect anything because even at the factory there are human beings there. The plug for the 4-way valve was not plugged in. So the guy took a picture and sent to me, and I said, wow, it has happened, well and good. Because why? I have been to the factory and I have seen how they operate. They test each and every unit in heat mode and in cool mode, in heat mode and in cool mode, and then they pump it down and it's gone for shipping. So it can happen, maybe transportation, maybe shaking, I don't know. So if it happens with you, F11, 4-way valve plug was not plugged in. And if it's an old unit, like 8, 9, 10 years, it's the indoor sensor. Definitely it's the indoor sensors. Do you see here? It says faulty sensor. It's to do with the indoor unit. It's not sending signal to the outdoor unit that I need to switch over. F17. F17 is coming up now. The contractor says, Paul, it ran the whole winter, no problem. I said, yes, it ran the whole winter because there is no error code of cross wiring in heat mode. There is, the error code will pop out only in cool mode. And that's where you get the F17 or the H39. So please guys, keep in mind that when you cross the wires in winter time, you may not encounter any problems. But the moment you switch over to cooling, the problems will come up and they will call you. So F17 and H39 are error codes related to cross wiring. Unit A went to B, B went to A. You will not get these error codes on a single zone. F90, it's the outdoor PCB. But before you change the PCB or before you condemn the outdoor PCB, do a 15 to 20 minute power reset. Switch off the outdoor unit for 10 to 15, even 20 minutes is good, and try it. I bet you the unit will kick in. It happens sometimes, just like a computer bug. You need to reboot it. F91, 150, 200%, the system has low refrigerant. All the calls that I got on F91, I mean all the calls meaning a few calls, low on gas. Here are pictures, live pictures that came from customers that were showing F91. This picture is not that the unit did not go into defrost. The unit went into defrost, but the gas was not hot enough to melt all this. And the gas was not hot enough because it was not enough in the system. So please recover all the refrigerant, re-vacuum the system, and charge with new gas if there is no leak. F93 is to do with compressor problem, and the compressor problems can be caused by kinks, pipe kinks. Okay, in this section here, there is no way it talks about pipe kinks, but I'm telling you based on my field experience. A few guys with this error code, we concluded that there were kinks in the pipe. F94, compressor discharge. Check if there is any filters that are clogged at the indoor unit. Check if the air circulation is not good. Too much of refrigerant can cause this as well. And if everything is good, then the outdoor PCB is condemned here. And that is only if you keep getting F94, if you keep getting F94, okay? F96, same story. Reset the unit, 10, 15, 20 minutes, and see if it works well, well and good. If not, replace the outdoor PCB. Very rare, but it can happen. Same with F97, guys. F98, same story, compressor failure or outdoor PCB. But before you condemn both of them or either one of them, power reset. Power reset for 10 to 15 minutes and see how it goes. I have never had an F98. I have never had an F98, guys, but it can happen. I had a few F99s and that was a power reset and it got rectified. Sometimes when it's running, when the system is running, sometimes the hydro company sends some bugs into the power, fluctuation, surge, you name it. And that can cause F99 and other error codes like F96 or F93, whatever. So please keep in mind the F error codes apart from F91. Always keep in mind that first try to power reset. And of course, give us a call. Give us a call, guys. If we don't pick up the phone, we will call you back. Some guys, they call me on an unknown number and then they don't leave me their phone number. So now I'm stuck how to call them back. So please, if you're calling from an unknown number, for whatever the reason, maybe your job has said not to display your phone number, no problem. But leave us a phone number to get you back, to call you back, to help you. I know sometimes you're on the roof and you need a phone call right away. We understand that. Myself and Tony has been in the trade all our years, on the roof, in the basement, in the garage. We worked everywhere. And that brings us in the attic. Exactly, I forgot to mention that, Tony. In the attic. And that brings us to the end of our 2 segments. Any question, guys? Any question? No questions? I said, let me talk a little bit about the Intersys. Intersys is a third-party company that has joined with Panasonic for many years now, and they take care of our control side. Okay, if you buy our units that does not have a built-in Wi-Fi, you can pick this one here, the one that I'm talking about. Okay, this guy here, you can use it as our Wi-Fi. Okay, this component, you don't need to plug in any wiring. You don't need to plug in any wiring. You don't need to plug in into our CN connector. Okay, it works just using the rays, just using the infrared receiver. It's a simple one, it's a bit cheaper, and it works beautiful. Okay, then comes this guy here, domestic. This is our BACnet gateway, KNX gateway. So please keep in mind, I'm not going to talk too much detail about this, because this is just to show you that we have the tools, we have the devices, we have all kinds of controls to talk to our Indo units. So if you have a job where you have installed our residential units in a commercial application, no problems. And if they need for a BACnet device, our units talk BACnet IP, BACnet Modbus, BACnet MSTP, you name it. Sorry, Paul, I saw your question, but we can ask again, or you can always email Tony or myself. So this component here, you see this component here is for our Indo units. All you do is it plugs in into our Indo unit. Okay, it has all the points that you need. And if you have more than 64 Indo units, right up to 124 Indo units, no problems. So please, if you have a project with BACnet requirements, BACnet IP, always reach out to us. We have all the resources to help you out. Intersys, they offer training as well, in-depth training, technical support, no problem. We have worked with them for 6.5 years, and I don't have a single problem with them. All you need to do is to follow instructions. We are using them also on our commercial units. Okay, so please keep in mind that you have once again, if you have a BACnet call, no problems. I have installed a lot of these guys here. I plug in directly into our Indo units, download the app, and I am up and running. This is how you do it. You plug in into CNT, follow the instructions, and you're up and running. Any question, guys? That brings us to the end of our session for today. Thank you so much for joining me, joining WEA Wallace with Tony and Fallon, if you have any questions, please fire them away. I'm